أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Dear audience, Assalamu alaikum. Today I am going to continue my talk on the topic of Ahsan al-Hadees attribute of Kitabullah, and I am going to seek guidance first of all from the verse number 185 of the Surah Al-Araf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَوَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا فِي مَلَكُوتِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ وَأَنْ عَسَىٰ أَنْ يَكُونَ قَدِ اقْتَرَبَ أَجَلُهُمْ فَبِأَيِّ حَدِيثٍ بَعْدَهُ يُؤْمِنُونَ. Meaning, have they then never considered God's mighty dominion over the heavens and the earth, and all the things that God has created, and asked themselves whether perchance the end of their own term might already have drawn nigh? In what other tiding then will they after this believe? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing in this verse to the kuffar, the people who deny the messages of the Kitab-e-Aziz, this Ahsan al-Hadith. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing Awalam yanzuru fi malakutis samawati wal arzi. Do they not consider, do they not see, do they not make notice of the mighty dominion, the kingdom of the heavens and the earth? And wama khalaqallahu min shay'in, and whatsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, wa an asa an yakuna qad iqtaraba ajaluhum, and asked themselves whether perchance by any possibility the end of their own term might already have drawn nigh. Meaning, have they not thought that their appointed time for their life on this earth might have come to its close, and their final time is drawn nearer, might be drawn nearer. فَبِأَيِّ حَدِيثٍ بَعْدَهُ يُؤْمِنُونَ. In what other hadith, in what other tiding, in what other message, in what other saying will they believe in after the arrival of the Kitabullah, Furqan Hamid, this Ahsan al-Hadith? Now I am going to move to Surah Yusuf, which is the 12th Surah of the Kitabullah, and seek guidance from the verse number 111, which is the last verse of the Surah Yusuf, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ إِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ ما كان حديث يفترى ولكن تصديق الذي بين يديه وتفصيل كل شيء وهدى ورحمة لقوم يؤمنون. Meaning, indeed, in the stories of these men, there is a lesson for those who are endowed with insight. As for this revelation, it could not possibly be a discourse invented by man. Nay, indeed, it is a divine writ confirming the truth of whatever there still remains of earlier revelations, clearly spelling out everything and offering guidance and grace unto people who will believe. Let us concentrate on this closing verse of the Surah Yusuf, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ. Indeed, in the stories, in the narratives, in the tales which have been described earlier in this surah, Ibratul liulil albab. Indeed, in these stories, there are lessons to be learned. These stories have got a deep meaning, a deep message, and the lessons are for those people liulil albab, who are ulil albab, the people of intellect, the people of knowledge, the people of insight, the people who pay heed to the messages of the Kitabullah. For these people, there are many great lessons to be learned in these stories. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala further says, Ma kana hadithin yuftara. It is not possible for this hadith, mean this message, this saying, this Kitabullah, Furqan Hamid, Kitab Aziz, it is not possible for this hadith to be a fabrication, to be invented by man, but instead, walakin tasdeeq allazi bayna yadayhi, but instead it testifies whatsoever truth is still remains in the earlier revelations. وَتَفْصِيلَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ, and it contains all the details. It contains detailed explanation of everything which the humanity needs. وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةً لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and this hadith, this Ahsan al-Hadith, this Kitabullah, Furqan Hamid, Kitab Aziz, contains the guidance and is a source of mercy for those individuals who believe in the messages of this book. Now I am going to move to Surah Ash-Shu'ara, which is the 26th Surah of the Kitab-e-Aziz, and recite the verse number 5 of the Surah and seek further guidance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا يَأْتِيهِم مِّن ذِكْرٍ مِّنَ الرَّحْمَنِ مُحْدَثٍ إِلَّا كَانُوا عَنْهُ مُعْرِضِينَ, meaning, but we have not willed it, and so whenever there comes unto them any fresh reminder from the most gracious, they who are blind of heart always turn their backs upon it. Let us concentrate on this verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing وَمَا يَأْتِيهِم مِّن ذِكْرٍ, that whenever a reminder comes to the disbelievers, here an address has been made about the disbelievers, whenever our messages reach the disbelievers, whenever the messages of the Kitabullah, this Zikr Hakim, they reach the disbelievers. So, and these messages, they are coming from Minar Rahmani Muhdasin, from Ar-Rahman. Muhdas means Ar-Rahman, the most gracious, the most compassionate. Muhdasan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, these hadith is coming from the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the muhaddis of this hadith. And what they do, what the disbelievers do, whenever this zikr, whenever this reminder, whenever any reminder of this Kitab Aziz from Ar-Rahman Muhdas reach the non-believers, what they do, illa kanu anhu mu'rizin, they turn away from these messages, they give them a lie, and they do not pay heed to the messages of the Kitabullah. Now I am moving to Surah Al-Najm, and I'm going to recite verse number 59 of the Surah Al-Najm, and the Surah Al-Najm is the 53rd Surah of the Kitab Aziz. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Afamin hazal hadisi ta'jabun, meaning, do you perchance find this tiding strange? Afamin hazal hadisi ta'jabun. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, the disbelievers find this hadith, this Kitabullah, Furqan Hamid, Kitab Aziz, as a strange discourse, and they do not believe in the messages of the Kitabullah. Now I'm going to move to Surah Al-Qalam, and I'm going to recite the verse number 44 and seek further guidance on the Ahsan al-Hadith attribute of Kitab Aziz. Surah Al-Qalam is the 68th Surah of the Kitabullah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing here in the verse 44 to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the disbelievers. فَذَرْنِي وَمَنْ يُكَذِّبُ بِهَذَا الْحَدِيثِ سَنَسْتَدْرِجُهُمْ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Hence leave me alone with such as give the lie to this tiding. We shall bring them low step by step without their perceiving how it has come about. Let us concentrate on this verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Fazarni, meaning, so leave me alone, leave these disbelievers to me alone. وَمَنْ يُكَذِّبُ بِهَذَا الْحَدِيثِ. So whosoever denies this hadith, this Kitabullah, Furqan Hamid, Kitab-e-Aziz, whosoever gives a lie, whosoever persistently refuses the messages of the Kitab-e-Aziz. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, leave those individuals for me alone. And what will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do with those disbelievers? سَنَسْتَدْرِجُهُمْ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, we shall bring them low, step by step, without perceiving how it has come about. We shall lead them step by step in ways beyond their knowledge, beyond their perception. Now I am moving to Surah Al-Mursalat, which is the 77th Surah of the Kitabullah, and I am going to recite the last verse, which is the verse number 50 of Surah Al-Mursalat, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is again addressing فَبِأَيِّ حَدِيثٍ بَعْدَهُ يُؤْمِنُونَ. In what other tiding then will they after this believe? Meaning, in what other hadith, in what other message, what other saying will these disbelievers believe in after the revelation, after the arrival of the Kitabullah, this Ahsan al-Hadith, this Kitab-e-Aziz, Furqan Hamid. I'm going to close today's talk with the recitation of the verse number 87 of Surah Al-Nisa, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Allahu la ilaha illahu لَيَجْمَعَنَّكُمْ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حَدِيثًا. Meaning, God save whom there is no deity, will surely gather you all together on the day of resurrection, the coming of which is beyond all doubt, and whose word could be truer than the God's words. Let us concentrate on this verse. It is a very important verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing Allahu la ilaha illahu. Allah is the one, except him there is no deity of worship. He is the only ilah. He is the only deity to be worshipped. There is no deity to be worshipped except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing to the humanity, La yajma'annakum ila yawmil qiyamati la rayba fih. That I am going to gather all of you. I am going to resurrect all of you on the day of judgment, on the Yawmul Qiyamat, means Yawmul Fasl, Yawmul Haq, Yawmul Deen, Yawmul Jama'. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to gather all of us. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to gather all of us at the day of resurrection, and in the coming of that day, in the reckoning of the day, there is no doubt. And in the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in this verse, وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حَدِيثًا. Asdaku is a word which is derived from the word sidq, which means truth, and asdak is the most superlative form of the sidq, means the truth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حَدِيثًا, that whose word, whose saying, whose messages, whose discourse, whose statement can be more true, more sincere then the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the hadith of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the statement, then the discourse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this hadith is Kitabullah, Furqan Hamid, Kitab Aziz. This is the Ahsan al Hadith. So I'm going to finish today's talk with the remark that Kitab Aziz is the Ahsan al Hadith. It is the most perfect, the most balanced, the most fair, the most true of all the statements, the best discourse. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I seek forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if there is any shortcoming in the delivery of the message. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين جزاكم الله خير.